All right, there we go. There we go. We're live now. Sorry about that, everybody. A little bit of technical difficulties. Got a great show for you tonight. I'm actually not out of town this week, so I'm actually uptown here at a local bookstore here that I've got access to because what a time for the home internet to go down. I've been fighting all day. The last 2 3 days, we're having where I live here in western part of North Carolina. We're having internet problems everywhere, and where I live, we don't got fiber. So I've had to find a place today. So it's been an interesting day. So hopefully, y'all can see me or whatever. Maybe somebody text me or over here on the chat side, let me know everything's going good. That'd be great. But we got a great guest on here tonight. We're so excited about Mr. Drew Gregory is going to be with us tonight, and I can't wait for that. But we're going to get the sponsors out of the way here real quick, and we'll get to the show. We want to thank Dugout Bait and Tackle down in Marietta, Georgia. We appreciate Jamie and Craig down there, the great job that they do. They selling Hobies, most people know that, and Jacksons. I think they're messing around a little bit with Old Town now, and they've got a great terminal tackle shop. If you're in that area or not in that area, I always tell everybody it's worth the drive. I drive about 4 hours every time that I want a new kayak or whatever. They've got a pond right there where you can get in them and try them out. Just great guys down there. Got all the tackle in the world. If you want to get a tournament boat set up, just get with Jamie. They'll schedule you in. You can get all the equipment from them, motors, mounts, all that good stuff, and they'll get it on there for you and get it on there right. So go down to Dugout Bait and Tackle. If you're in that Jefferson City or Danbridge or White Pines or Morristown, Tennessee, and you've got some lawn service that you need, landscaping or leaf removal or tree work, you call Ridleys Lawn and Maintenance. Oh, Scotty will take care of you. Just tell him that KKOA sent you, and he'll try to give you a deal. We appreciate Scotty up there. We got Ledgehog Fishing. Go to their website. Got a great website. Love their scissor jigs with the double hooks. If you've never seen one, you need to get one. I mean, you'll get more fish in the boat on them double hooks, and also too their spinner baits and their blade baits for you. They're doing that deep fishing in them deep lakes like we do up in the mountains of North Carolina. Sometimes you need them deep baits to get deep, and then they'll do a great job for you, them blade baits. Want to give a shout out to Kistler. Team Kistler, thanking them for their sponsorship and what they're doing for the channel. Great rod, good American-made rod right here in the United States. Then go check them out there, made in Texas down there. And Yak Rods. Yak Rods, my favorite jerkbait is the black line jerkbait rod. I love that rod. It's my favorite jerkbait for my mega basses. If you want to buy one of them, purchase one of them, use KKOA. That's discount code KKOA, and you'll get a 10% discount. And when we sell 10 of those, we are going to give one away on this podcast. So when I get the free one, I'm going to give one of them away. So you that are buying them, go out and use that discount code, and maybe you can win you a second one. Also, if you're in that western part of North Carolina area, we got Grant's Auto Detailing. Mr. Blake Grant, he'll take care of you. Give him a call. He'll even come and get your car, detail it, bring it back. He does the ceramic waxing and all that stuff inside and out. Does a great job for a great price. Been doing it for 15 years. Just tell him KKOA sent you, and he'll hook you up. Want to give a shout out to Helton Roofing, also in that serving that western North Carolina area. Helton Roofing, rain or shine, he's got you covered. Just call Mr. Josh Helton. Also check out his YouTube channel. He's got a YouTube channel, Blue Ridge Legacy. Check them out. Got a brand new sponsor tonight, and they're trying to work their way in to be the main sponsor of the podcast, K&W Precision, for all your manufacturing needs. He likes to do R&D stuff. He's willing to take a look at all kinds of different things and do that. He's got capabilities for all kinds of stuff. He's got capabilities at machining and turning, and also 3D printing. So reach out to Wesley Freeman or get a hold of me, and I'll get you in touch with them. So can't thank you enough. Also, too, want to say I looked today. We're still got the $50 gift card. You that haven't liked and subscribed on Country Kids Outdoor on my YouTube channel, please do that, or we can give that away. We're only about, I think, 14 short. So tonight, while I'm here, I'm going to kind of watch it. So please go over there and we'll get that gift card out to you. And we appreciate that. Thank you for all that's been turning into the podcast. A great show last week with Jason Cassidy, and from being, the national director for the USA Bassin Tournament Grassroots League that started up this year. Man, he was great information that he brought us, great guy, and we're looking forward to seeing what they're doing with that series. But without further ado, I know he's a busy man, and I'm so grateful that he was able to come on tonight. We're going to go ahead and bring Mr. Drew Gregory out here with us. Can you hear us, Drew?
I got you, Steven. What's going on, man?
Much. How are you?
I'm doing good, doing real good, man. I think you're just trying to make me feel good with the whole, bookstore, internet, and all that, because it's been crazy one here for me as well. But you got two young kids, 5-year-old and 1.5, and wife's been a little bit under the weather. That's just par for the course, my friend. Par for the course. I mean, look at me. I think this is the first time I've actually looked at myself today, like in the mirror or in the camera. I think it's probably the first time I've looked at myself. I got the wrong mug going here. I mean, it's just been a mess. But happy to be on here, talking a little about whatever, man. Kayak fishing, whatever, wherever you want to go.
I know it, man. I'm still struggling here on this side. Sadly, I can see myself, but can you see me on your side?
I can see you. I can.
Okay, I can see you on my side, but I don't know if anybody else is seeing you right now.
I don't know.
So
I don't know. I'm not on the screen like I was when I was along with you a little bit ago here before we got live. Maybe some people can comment and see if they can see me. It says you're in the show. Everyone can see and hear you. That's what it says. So.
Okay. Yeah, I can see you and I can hear you, but let me go to Facebook real quick here and see if it's just me or.
Tyler Bean says not yet, so it may be. Don't know why it says it
here. Let's see what's going on here.
Yeah, it was working fine earlier.
Let's see if there's somehow I can get. Well.
Yeah, let's try. I could jump out of here and come back in. They definitely say they can hear me. Tyler Bean saying he can.
Yeah, I know they can hear you.
Let me see.
I've never had this happen.
Let me try to disable my camera. I'll just.
Okay.
And then re-enable it here. Okay, that didn't work.
Nope, it didn't. I don't know. My goodness. Good old, I'm telling you, I don't know what it is this week. So
here we go. Let's see. Video settings.
Yeah, I mean, I'm checking all my stuff on my end. Share window. No.
Doug King is saying the same thing. That's weird. Let's try. Let me try. You can stay live. I could just try leaving completely and then come back in if you wanted to. I don't know what that's going to do.
Maybe. I wonder if it's going to your channel when you accept that channel. I wonder.
Well, those guys I think are from my channel. I think Tyler and Doug are probably from my channel. Yep. So, and they're saying they can't see and hear me. So, I don't know what settings you have over there.
Yeah, mine is like I said. I've got you here, but let me see video settings.
Let me try this. I turned mirroring the camera off. I didn't do anything.
Yeah, that's what I was just trying to do.
I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
It's weird because we were just talking to each other on the same screen a minute ago. I mean, you could try.
Crazy.
Yeah, anybody out there have any great suggestion? Because I don't want to. We don't want.
I need help here. Let me see. You
could do that, but.
Well, anyways, we'll go ahead and kind of tell them a little bit who you are, Drew, and stuff like that. While I try to
sort that out
right here.
Yeah, you know what? Because a lot of people might listen to this on audio anyway. So you guys,
yeah, they will.
On the podcast,
we got a pretty good number on here right now, but
Well, good
the
deal.
only thing there is they're seeing my ugly face and not seeing your good looks. So I mean, that's
Yeah, right.
so,
Oh, they see all this gray hair that's coming from the kids and just life. But all right, well, you know, for you guys who may not know who I am, basically, you know, the short version is I'm just a dude that loves to fish and kayak fish, and that's about it in wild places. However, in order to give Steven some time here, I'll elaborate. No, for real though, I'm just I really am a guy that just loves to kayak fish and loved it so much that I ended up making it, you know, turning it into a living. And started out, kind of left my job and started out working with Jackson Kayak about, you know, that might have been 11 years ago now. And with them, I ran the River Bass and Tournament Trail, and I did a show called Hooked on Wild Waters that I hosted. And today I'm more known probably for my tournament fishing. You know, back in 2020, I was the Angler of the Year over there on the Hobie Bass Open Series. And last year, 2022, was able to take home the title for Bassmaster for Angler of the Year. So that was pretty cool. So tournaments are what I've been up to a little bit more lately. This year, you know, there's been some events I was going to go to that were canceled, and then just been a little bit slower start to the year. But I'm still doing some tournaments, maybe not quite as many as in years past, just because the kids are getting older, you know, and they only are, you know, Theo, my son's just turned 5, and it's just the most important years of his life. So I'm going to be around for more of that kind of stuff and be a part of that. And then daughter Sophia is 1.5 years old. So I'm loving being around a little bit more, doing stuff like that, and just got some other projects in the works, and working with Crescent Kayaks now and developing kayaks with them. So we've got some other kayaks we're working on as well, and some other projects I've been working on that I can't really get into right now and talk about, but they're pretty exciting, and we'll be announcing them hopefully fairly soon, a little bit later this year. But man,
well,
I can't wait.
that was one of my questions was when we got to that section about the Crescent.
Mm-hmm.
The sources to minimize with this button.
They giving you some feedback?
Yeah, that's what I said. You don't have that button. Click on any of the sources. Please share the screen of what you're seeing. Yeah, that's what's not working there, friend. Don't make me switch to, what is the other one everybody's using? Something,
StreamYard.
was it? Yeah, don't make me switch to StreamYard. That's what I'm going to tell him here.
That's what I use. Never really had a problem with that. But then again,
oh boy, ain't this great?
We didn't have a
well,
problem.
This has been my first. I apologize. This has been the first time that this has ever happened. Oh my goodness. Oh.
Let's see. What about? I mean, we could always leave and then restart it and see if it helps.
Did you? I didn't know they've asked me before. What browser did you use?
I'm
Did
in
you use
Chrome.
Google?
Yeah, I'm in Chrome, which is usually the best for most of this stuff.
Share the screen. How do I do that?
Well, you can click on share screen with down at the arrow button right there, and it's next to my video camera button. But that's actually like sharing a screen. Hey,
there we go. Let's just do it that way then.
Now it's just me.
Now let's ask your buddies and see if they can do it. Yeah, let's see.
Yeah. Hey, Doug, Tyler, you guys still there? Anybody still there? I mean, this has been riveting conversation. Surely someone is still there because, you know,
I know.
They've
come
been
on.
wanting to follow along with the madness here.
Yeah.
Somebody will comment. I'm sure they can see me because now I can only see myself. So.
Well, that's great. That's the main thing we want, anyways, and I can come on at the end. So
there you go.
Now, if I can get this off.
Yeah, Doug and Tyler are still with us. So, all right, perfect. And I'm sure.
All right, great.
Plenty of others.
All right, great. Now I can't get this thing off here, so something obviously is not.
Thank you, Ashley.
There we go. I got you now. Let's roll now. All right.
Let's roll.
Man, sorry about that. I apologize. Like I said, it's still something's wrong though. because we should be both be on the screen, but we're not.
We should be.
You're the most important thing. So thank you again for being here, Drew. All of you out there, it's just real. I apologize. It's just the way it is. Welcome to technology. So, well, you said a lot in that little bit of intro there. And like I said, I was trying to work on that and listen at the same time. I know I've been looking at your Facebook stuff, doing a little bit. I ain't being a creeper, but I always try to dig a little bit. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, you got mom.
Yeah, now you guys can see
Hey,
what I was
sometimes you
joking
got
about
both.
when I was using the wrong mug here. Mom,
I love
not
it,
dad.
man.
That's just
I
how.
love it, man.
Yeah,
I guarantee you do not take mom's place, but sometimes it's good to try anyway.
that's right.
No, but I did see a lot of you. It looks like since your kids have been born, which is a blessing, that you really trying to enjoy that time because they're only a kid once. You know what I'm saying?
That's
And
right.
that's usually one of the first things I start out with is your family, and obviously you're right in the mix of it. I remember when mine were that age, so I mean you're in the you're in the mix of it. It's a great time.
It is, man. It's wild. Anyone who has kids, they get it. If you don't have kids, you'll likely understand one day just the madness. But it's
That's
fun,
right.
and I wouldn't trade it for anything. But it definitely keeps me, like I said earlier, to the point where I think this is the first time as I see just myself right here looking at. First time I probably looked at myself today. So this is what you get.
Yeah. Hey, that's right. You look fine. You look fine. So you started out with Jackson then.
Yeah.
So I was trying to find where you got your start or whatever. But I always like to ask every guy, since the kayak industry is just growing so big, what got you over in that Tupperware boat? What got you there?
For me, it's a pretty cool story because it's just so real and it's so genuine in the sense that I love to fish rivers and creeks and just wild places. And there is
Right.
no better tool for it. There's no better tool. That eventually I found the best tool. If you're passionate about fishing rivers and creeks, you're most likely eventually going to stumble. If you're just wade fishing, for example, fishing from the bank, you will eventually get into a kayak. You will figure it out that there is no better tool. There's nothing wrong with a float tube. There's nothing wrong with a little aluminum boat, a little 12-foot John boat. There's nothing wrong with a bass hunter or a pond prowler or any other small watercraft, a canoe or a canoe. But there's nothing better than a kayak. Like you'll eventually figure it out. So that's kind of where I landed. And so it just helps me get to the fish. It's the best tool. It helps me catch the most fish and the biggest fish and more comfortably than anything else. And easy to transport, but than anything else.
Right.
So yeah, that's kind of where I landed. So it's very authentic and true to just what I love to do, man. Just getting out there in those wild places that so many of you guys out there watching today,
Yeah.
same thing. That's why you got a kayak. And I'm not, just because I fish tournaments now, it's not really going to change me a whole lot in terms of, what I got the kayak for. I know some of the rules have been changed and you can't get as wild as I would like to anymore. And that's probably another little reason why I don't fish as many, not as amped up and as excited about fishing tournaments as much as I was in the past. But my passion for fishing wild places is definitely stronger than my passion for competition, but I still have to compete a little bit. So trying to focus on this Bassmaster Kayak Series and maybe try to repeat this trophy right here, try to at least defend that title. We'll see what happens out in Texas here soon.
Yeah, I seen when I was digging through there, which I didn't really realize that it's got you down. I actually got the picture right here in my notes, but so you're a 3-time Bassmaster Kayak Series champion.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, they're right here, the trophies. I even had to just go back and think about that. Yeah, but I won 3 in a row actually last year, which is crazy.
And the Angler of the Year in 2022, right?
That's right. So
now, did you win all those 3 in 2022?
Yes. So I won. I only fished 4 of the 5, and they required.
Oh, wow.
They required you fishing at least 4, so they took your best 4 scores. And I can't remember. I think you get like 250 points for a win, something like that, and it probably goes down by 1 point increments or 2 point. I can't remember how Bassmaster does it, but yeah, I just had a really crazy year. It's one of those things where I just blacked out, I guess, and just fished out of my mind. And I finished 7th place at the Harris Chain down in Florida to kick off my season. It actually, I believe it it kicked off on Lake Fork. I missed Lake Fork because my daughter was still
Yeah.
pretty young, a couple months old. So 2-3 months old, didn't want to leave quite yet and fish that one. So yeah, just fished the last 4 of the 5, 7th place at Harris Chain down in Florida, and then just went on this kind of crazy magical run that it may be the peak of anything I ever do in tournament fishing, just win right after that. So
Yeah.
kind of, and I had a KBF win in between there on Lake Champlain. So it was kind of like,
Right. I seen that.
What in the world, man?
Was it one of them times you just couldn't do anything wrong? I mean, was it just like mind-boggling that? I mean, was it just like the fish were coming to you like supernaturally or something? You know
I mean, some of the events, yes, some no. On Lewis Smith Lake is the one I always think about because I refilled my entire 5-fish limit in the last hour and a half of the tournament. I had like mid 70 inches, not much, and I think I got up to around 89 and a half, ended up winning that tournament with. And, oh man, it was super close because I'm trying to think, I won by, I think, a quarter of an inch. So super close. But anyway, that was the one where it definitely didn't just happen like
right.
that. But some of the other ones, it certainly did. Over on Grand Lake, I was in the 90 inches and it was still early. I had no clue that was going to happen. I found a spawning pocket on the main lake that I caught some fish pre-fishing and just kind of left it alone. And then no one was there in tournament morning and ended up just going around this little spawning pocket that wasn't even very big. And I never left there. I had like 90 something inches that total, I think I won by about 10 inches. So I'd had that tournament won probably in the first, couple hours. Once I got in the mid 80s or low 80s, I probably had it won. I didn't know I had it won, but obviously I did. And it was pretty easy looking back on it. And then let's say I won Champlain felt like it was pretty easy. They kind of were just where they were supposed to be. It was one of those days where they acted, right for me. Based on the pre-fishing and now Champlain in that whole run of tournaments is the only one I'd fished before, although I'd only fished it one time before the previous year in the Hobie Bass Open Series, but I got second my first time there. And so I had good history there, but I actually enjoy fishing places for the first time. That's why I chose that schedule last year. Honestly, I'd never been to Grand Lake, so I wanted to go fish it. And sometimes it just lets you see things in a different light than other people who fish it all the time. So it's not really always such a negative. I know some people get a little bit, maybe frustrated, or not frustrated, but they just feel like they're at a disadvantage. So they get a little bit down, like, knowing that you're competing against folks that have a lot of history on these bodies of water. But sometimes they get locked in and they don't see it the same way you do from a 30,000 foot view, because they're just going on their history, and fish move and things change year to year. Grass moves in lakes, bait fish different,
and they don't try nothing different.
No, right, exactly. Because maybe the lake got pressured really hard because of a tournament that was won and it was made public, and so the area that was good isn't as good just due to pressure, angler pressure. So anyway, Grand was a new place. Lewis Smith was a new place that I won, and Champlain was just my second time there. But I felt like that actually was fairly easy. And then Pickwick, this last one over here, Pickwick was the last one for Bassmaster that I won last year. It was, it wasn't easy on the second day. Day one felt like it was pretty easy, but I found some very, very remote fish, up a creek, and it was awesome because I had it all to myself. I'm in a little Crescent Kayak and was able to kind of get to the fish. Nobody else could. It's no different than, Keith Pochet or anybody like that, right? That has a little aluminum boat and goes, and John Cox or anybody, right? So, and it's also no different than someone who's got a real big boat, who in the bass boat world, like, I've made this illustration before, but the Johnson brothers, who have a 21-foot boat that's going to get them out in the big waves on Lake Ontario, where other guys that have a little 18 or 19-foot boat can't go there. So I was just taking advantage of, again, why I got into the sport and went to a creek that was kind of unpressured and caught some big Alabama bass, formerly known as spotted bass, but Alabama bass, and took that one fairly easily. But it's definitely not always that way. And I had a lot of events last year that didn't go so well. So I don't want to ever not mention that, because that's the reality.
Now, not to bring it back up again, but as I was doing some digging, there was some kind of controversy on the Pickwick one, right?
Yeah.
What was that all about? Was it just somebody didn't have the information right or something?
Well, it basically boils down to nobody knows anything. There's nobody. It's not like golf where you're playing
Yeah.
with your competitors are with you and they can see you and they can
Right.
say, hey man, that ball moved, or hey, they can call you out and kind of keep you. I mean, even in golf though, you still have an honor system because your competitors aren't next to you
Right.
the entire time. You could actually do stuff when they're not looking. There's always an honor system. So, just in our sport, the cool thing is there's a checks and balances and you're allowed to protest, and and it's not such a dirty word. Everyone kind of fears it and thinks it's such a dirty word, but just because someone protests, it really just means like, hey, tournament director, can you just look into this just to make sure that the honors is kept for the sport? There's no problem with that. I mean, I don't have a problem with it, because if you don't break a rule, then what do you have to worry about? I mean, I had nothing to worry about because I knew I stayed in my kayak.
I know me, if it'd be me, the only thing I'd be worried about is like, oh my goodness, maybe I did something I wasn't supposed to. You know what I mean? Did I not read?
Sure.
Did I go too far somewhere or something? You know what I mean? Because I just think, and we're dealing with this a little bit in the kayak industry right now, in the tournament industry, and then, with, I don't, I got a good friend of mine, we was talking the other day, and, if you're going to compete, I know the money is why they do it. I just don't understand why you would go to all that trouble to, cheat when, why not just put that effort into fishing and try to win? You know what I'm saying?
No kidding, right? So, you're right.
I don't get it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah,
So
I know, man. It's true. So anyway, that was all it was. They just it was basically about, could I have gotten where I was and stayed in my kayak, because the rule states you got to stay in your kayak.
So that's what it was.
And I was able to, if you don't fish the way I do, you probably just don't see things the same way. It's like reading the Matrix, right? Of the river or the lake or whatever.
Right.
You probably just don't see it, the same way. And so I was able to get around some stuff and some root balls and some logs and under some branches. And again, I got a kayak that's kind of made for it, and it's narrower and shorter. So,
well, that's what I was going to ask you. I looked at the date. I think it was around May of 2022 when the Shoalie came out, or did you already have it?
I had it in May, but it came out in June. I think I had it in May for that Lewis Smith tournament. That was the first one.
Yeah.
And that's,
so what was you using before that? Was you using Crescent?
I was using the Crescent Ultralight on Grand Lake, but everything since then was a Shoalie. And then the Crescent Shoalie helped me for sure, win several tournaments. And then what was crazy, and I'll go ahead and say this because with this Keith Poche thing that just happened on the bass boat side too, it's important to know. Keith Poche, I'm not going to get into, you guys can look into that whole situation, but
oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So when you fish in a very remote and wild, the way a Poche does, or the way that I do, or someone that is known for that, you kind of have a little bit more of a burden of responsibility to do a couple things. One is to make sure before the tournament even begins that you've cleared that area with the tournament director and let them know where you're going to be. If there's any gray area at all, that maybe this is, something they never had seen before. They didn't know this is there, whatever, right. It just, if it's gray at all, if you're going really far off the grid or far away from where other people may be, which again, nothing is wrong with that. Look at the Bassmaster Elite Series where they run from in the Sabine River, that I think might even be their next tournament. They go out the Sabine River through the saltwater, back up into Galveston Bay, a long way away, hour or more run. I don't know what it is. And same with Winyah Bay and other places. Lake Champlain, you can drive for hours. Nothing's wrong with going far away. There's something wrong with going out of bounds in water that's not legal, but there's nothing wrong with going far away. So when you go far away and further than other anglers might be, as long as it's in bounds, you have no problem. But it doesn't hurt, especially in our sport where you have to stay in your kayak, to just go ahead and talk to the tournament director beforehand. So that's what I did on Friday before that tournament, which is certainly what helped me, win my appeal and have the disqualification overturned. So, because I technically we had to get disqualified first because of what the pictures of the logs. It looks pretty tough. I mean, to get around those things, but unless you have a little bit different angles of pictures and can see it, because the tournament directors also don't know. Maybe some people are, I don't think anyone who protests a bee is like this, but there could be somebody who's just looking to present only their side and get someone disqualified out of right. Maybe they're just butthurt or out of spite or whatever, but these people weren't. They were just, I think, just making sure all was good. So anyway, I went to the tournament director before on Friday of that tournament on Pickwick and said, hey, I literally pulled my phone out and said, hey, I'm fishing right here. And I showed them
That's good.
on the map exactly where I was. And I said, in pre-fishing, I've gone through the whole section. I've stayed in my kayak. I know I can do it and without getting out. And so that's where I'll be. And I also shared my location on my phone with the Bassmaster photographer, Mark Cisneros. So he had my little blue dot. They knew where I was the whole time. And I did that because I feel like there's an extra burden of responsibility whenever you're doing something that is kind of off the beaten path that maybe no one else has thought about, or, if it even seems gray, you might as well get it cleared beforehand. So that's, if Poche probably made one mistake, it was probably that. Cause if that's not a gray area to at least get checked, jump in an actual earthen, concrete dam.
Yeah.
I don't know what would be considered gray where you would have to ever question, ask the tournament director if that's not, you see what I'm saying? So that's probably where he should have, even though he feels, in his heart, and maybe he's right. Maybe that's legal, but they said no. So.
I mean, that's great advice for a lot of us newbies out there, because, this was my first year of dedicating myself to, I'm doing some of the USA Bassin. That's the reason I had Jason Cassidy on here, national director, and I've been doing some of the Bass Nations, but I've been doing them all in Tennessee because I'm just a couple hours from, Tennessee, and the lakes are just a little bit better there to me anyways. I know I'll probably get some kickback for that, but I just, close to me. Now, if I went to Wally down, Hartwell, but I'm driving the same distance. So, but I was shocked when I got up there to Lake Cherokee. There was the first two tournaments, and they was like, you can fish the whole lake from dam to dam. And I'm looking down at the map thinking, oh my goodness. I mean, I was shocked, and I'm thinking a lot of these guys ain't never going to go to some of these places. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that's great advice if you're going to go way, 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 because I take it that the Bassmaster is the same way. You guys can use motors, right? So, if you got a motor, that makes it more accessible to go that distance. You know what I mean? You just got to time it out right. So, that's a good idea. I'm glad you brought that up. The next time, if you're in kind of doubt, and you're in, if you're doing well in the tournament, you might want to show that second day or whatever. Hey, I'm going to be here. You okay with that?
Exactly.
So that's good.
Yeah. And then I filmed with my GoPro, so that helped as well. I had all my footage. And,
absolutely.
So that was kind of, it showed some of the pictures or videos that were areas that were in question. I was able to just pull up my footage and say, well, here I am going right, right through
That's
it, right,
great.
staying in my kayak. So that helped for sure. So yeah, it's a fun sport. And getting in those wild places was just, makes it super enjoyable for me. And if it can work out in a tournament, on Grand Lake, it didn't. I was on the main lake in a spawning pocket, but if it can ever work out in a tournament, then that's where I'm going to be. I don't hide that fact whatsoever. And,
right.
It is kind of it's kind of sketchy in some ways, because when you try to promote that style and you encourage people to get out there and fish those kind of little smaller backwaters and creeks, the only bummer with that is if it gets more popular, it's hard to win out of those places when it gets more pressure and more exposure. So that's the trickiest part. I mean, even in pre-fishing, if it gets hit too hard, then you're just not going to win, especially on a 2-day tournament, because the population of fish in these little smaller backwaters, rivers, and creeks this is shallow water fishing. So there's, it's not open water bait fish like herring and all that just can sustain, big shad schools that can sustain hundreds of bass sometimes in schools in these big lakes. If you go to Lake Champlain or the St. Lawrence River and the Ontario Erie, all these lakes, the big lakes, your Chickamaugas and Lake Forks, there's schools of hundreds of fish, 50, 60, 100 fish sometimes.
Yeah.
At least 20s and 30s, and obviously you just need 10 for a 2-day tournament. So that's the problem with the small water. That's always what will bite you, is always not having enough fish to last for 2 days.
Yeah. So when you was with Jackson, was you doing tournaments when you was with Jackson?
I did. I got second in the there's one of these, I don't know if there's somewhere, second in the national championship in 2019. I want to say, that's about it. I fished a couple of the national championships for KBF. And
what kayak was you fishing at Jackson before you went to Crescent?
Mostly just the Coosa, the one that I had kind of designed. That was my
so you've always really stayed with some type of river style boat then?
Yes, yeah. I did fish out of a Blue Sky in that national championship where I got second. I was in Blue Sky with a motor, But usually I'm in a Coosa. You know, it was in a Coosa with Jackson. That was kind of like a boat I designed to kind of fit the style of fishing that I love. So, I mean, I designed lots of them. So don't get me wrong, like the Big Tuna and the Cuda, and there's lots of them that were great boats, but they could do different things like bigger water, a little faster boats like the Cuda, inshore fishing, really good for it. But I mean, they don't even make those models anymore. But I just always wanted to be in the Coosa because I always wanted to be on a river. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean, you're hitting right up my alley. That's how I got into kayak fishing. Was really, I'm a river guy. I go up there to Tennessee River and fish it a lot, that's where I started going into kayaks. Was there. So, but to give us an idea, because a lot of people, I'm a little bit bigger guy. I'm like 220, 225, maybe 230 on my heaviest, Christmas time.
Yeah.
you know, 5'10", one of them guys. And, one of the things about the river boats is if you don't mind telling us, what's your height and weight where we can kind of compare that to you being in the Shoalie? You know what I mean?
Sure. I mean, I'm only, like 5'8", 170, but I designed the Shoalie.
Okay.
The Shoalie's too big for me personally, technically. I mean, it's
Really.
more than
So
I need. It's got a 450-pound weight capacity. I mean, it's not, I didn't design it for Drew, like me personally. You know what I mean? I didn't.
Yeah.
I designed it for the average angler. You know what I mean? The average size angler.
Yeah.
Now you might say, well,
That's right.
Yeah, but it's not as wide and as big and as stable as these other boats that are out there. But it's kind of like, it's a longer conversation, so I'll try to be brief in explaining it. The more nimble and, smaller and more nimble the boat is, the easier it is to maneuver and avoid those obstacles that cause you to flip in rivers. Instead of being so wide and big and stable, which really, in my mind, it means it's slow and it's going to, not get up to speed fast. And it's going to have a nice, usually those bigger boats have a very flat sidewall and it's very tall.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's not rounded. Yeah. So it's not, you can't like edge turn. You can't do a lot of the whitewater maneuvers on it as easy. And you can't like lean downstream and lift up that upstream side to let water slide underneath it, so it just slides instead of pushes you faster into the object you're trying to avoid. So would you rather be in a kayak that's going to help you like avoid those obstacles so you don't flip, or be in a kayak that is, sure, it feels more stable to demo day on flat water. It's big and wide and stable, but it's super heavy. So you're not going to be able to access these rivers and creeks. A lot of the places, it's not like a boat ramp. And if you're fishing a place with boat ramps with kayaks, that's fine. That's cool. I mean, that boat probably will work for you. That whatever one you pick that's super wide and stable, so stable. And not that the Shoalie's not stable. I mean, I stand in it. People that are 300 plus pounds are in it, no problem. But everyone has a little bit different level of stability and coordination when it comes to kayaking. And that's an issue with every one of our personal kayaking level of ability and skill. That has nothing to do with each kayak, at all. That's just your skill and paddling. And you need to learn how to become a better paddler, because the Shoalie is plenty stable for anyone to stand in. You may not feel it the first time you get in it, because you got to learn it's secondary, secondary stability and where that kicks in. But you'll eventually get there. It's like a bike with training wheels. At the very beginning, you learn, and it's difficult, and you're like, man, I'm never going to be able to ride this.
I'm really interested in it. I'm just trying to find somebody I can get one to invite on a trip to the river or something where I can get to use it for a day.
You need to go.
You know what I mean?
Team up.
I'm wanting to so bad I can't stand it. So I love the features that you have on the boat. I mean, some of the features are just, you did a really good job on it. I feel like you're probably pretty proud of being part of that boat. I mean,
for sure.
I mean, since it came out, it's been everybody Shoalie. You know what I mean? So it's
man, I haven't heard a bad thing about it from anybody. I mean, seriously, I would say if I did, I haven't heard not a bad thing that's seriously like bad. You know what I mean? Like, I can't remember, there was like even I don't know if Tyler's still on here. He had something, I can't remember what it was. It was like so minute that like nobody would even, like, you wouldn't not buy a boat because of it. He had to like nitpick so hard to find something. But I'm trying to think. But Josh Tatum's on here on a comment saying he's 5'11", 250 pounds, and he loves the Shoalie.
I just seen that.
Stability is learned, is what he said. And he's correct. Stability is learned, but anyway, the Shoalie's been incredible. I love the boat. Everyone else is. I've gotten so many messages with people just saying how much they love the boat. It's incredible. What a great job we did on it. And man, I just feel weird. I don't really like screenshot those kind of messages and post them on social media and whatnot. And I don't know. Sometimes I
Yeah.
just feel weird about talking about a boat I've designed so much, but I definitely have, heard a lot of
Yeah, I'm with
positives
you.
from folks, man.
You would rather other people do it,
Yeah.
and
I mean, of course I'm going to say it.
because
Yeah.
it looks like you're just trying to support it to sell it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
Yeah, I understand.
Exactly.
I'm in sales, so I understand what you mean.
Yeah.
You know, somebody else saying something good about the product's better than me saying it.
That's
You know,
right.
so
That's right.
now with Crescent, tell us. I mean, you're really the face for Crescent. I mean, at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah, on the fishing side. Yeah, for sure on the fishing side.
yeah, on the fishing side. So, what do you think Crescent's going to try to get in the game? I know you can't reveal some things, but are they going to try to look at more at that boat for that guy that is not as stable, or or are they going to try to stick
I
with
mean,
that nimble, lightweight,
right.
type of kayak? If that makes
Sure,
sense,
man.
you know what
I
I'm
don't
saying?
mind like sharing some stuff. I can't dig into all the details, but I know this is
Yeah,
you guys want to know some stuff, and I Ryan Van Tyne's on there earlier commenting, asking what I have working on at Crescent. So
yeah, I
people want to
seen that.
know.
I seen that.
The only
Yeah,
thing I can really say is, man, comments. It's pretty common sense. So I don't know how much this is really giving anybody, but we got a boat that's a Shoalie. It's 11 foot 10 inches, and there's a lot of boats out there in the market that are certainly bigger than that. That are pedal drives and non-pedal drives, and there's certainly boats smaller than that on the market. You know what I mean? Like that are
right.
that
Yeah,
are still for adults and folks as well. So I mean, we've got a couple directions to go. So I mean, I
yeah,
think eventually you want to have a fuller line of boats that can really, because there are certainly as much as I made that Shoalie to hit that midpoint where most people can fit it. There are certainly some
yeah,
people that probably are just a little bit too, you know, just too big for that boat, and they just need a little bit, maybe a little bit more boat, or maybe they're going to carry a lot of weight, a little bit bigger guy, plus they're going to carry a ton of gear and a ton of weight. Which we do have, like someone's, Josh Tatum's talking about the crew that we make over there at Crescent. The crew is certainly that boat right now in our line. That's a tandem or solo kayak. The seat moves.
Oh,
It moves
it
to the
is.
middle.
I
Yeah.
just thought that was a tandem. I didn't realize you could do it both
Yeah,
ways. I
right.
didn't understand.
You can move the seat to the middle position, and it's a
Oh,
solo kayak, and it's awesome. Scott Butcher's got a really good one rigged up with everything on it, and it's a great boat for that
do,
solo bigger guy, and it's a good
Drew,
paddling
what
boat.
do you think your opinion is with all the companies? uh, we all see it. Everybody's, who Hobie, kind of redone the what is it, the Passport or whatever it is, or the Mirage or whatever it
Hmm.
is. Vibe just come out with that the 10 foot. What do you think? Is the market trying to get a different sector of business to get in the kayaks? Because as I do, usually a 10 foot boat ain't really the one to have on lake fishing. It's more for rivers, small streams. Or do you think that's what everybody's thinking? They're missing uh, that sector of business. And what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, what's crazy is that the Crescent Ultralight, like you would think about Grand Lake, for example. Look how big that lake is. It's called Grand Lake, for goodness sakes, right? It's a big
Yeah,
lake.
yeah,
I mean, I was using the Crescent Ultralight, and it helped me get, I think helped me get to a little spot, and was really good and fast and nimble. And I mean, it's super situational. There's spots in lakes that you can go to, the biggest of all the lakes you're thinking about. And just like Keith Bochet's boat, aluminum boat, little 18-foot, it's only going to play. It's super situational. It's only going to help him win or cash a check or do good
yes,
in a certain number of events on these big lakes where there's a little spot where the other guys can't get. So your smaller boats can still be great for big lakes as long as you have close enough access to where you want to fish in the little backwater that's maybe it's real weedy, and real like pedal drives or motors, and they can't get through, real, or maybe people,
right.
it's not they can't get through it because you can lift your motors up, you can lift your pedal drive up, but your boat is actually wider and bigger, and it's just harder to push, pull, and
That's
push your
true.
way through vegetation. So guess what? The folks in those bigger boats just don't do it, and the guys with the motors just don't do
Yeah,
it because they're like, that's too much work. And it's so your little boats can help at big lakes too, but it's super situational, and it could be
yeah,
situational with your income. You could be a college student or someone that just got out of college and you just don't have a lot of money, and it's just literally all you can afford is a little 10-foot boat. And maybe that forces you to find those situations on each lake where that little boat will work. But I just
hmm
think the market's right now the market's trying to, anyone and any manufacturer's just trying to do anything they can to find out anywhere they can squeeze anything, because it's pretty tapped out right now. So anywhere they can kind of, find anything just to keep it going until it kind of peaks back up, is what everyone's trying to do. Of course, you can't make a kayak overnight, so you got to predict this stuff, project it out
ahead of time.
Yeah. Usually it takes about a year to get one, from conception to, production. So yeah, I think that maybe it's just, you do see it go in cycles. There's 2 other river boats that were made right, after we released this Shoalie. So Kusa. You see, that's right, the Kusa X and the RVR 119.
RVR. Yeah.
So it at least kind of validates that category, that there are plenty of people fishing rivers and wild places, that we need some river boats. There's Tim DeSmith on there. Just saw him this past weekend.
State champion.
Yeah, state champion. Right. Love my Shoalie, he says. And great dude, great family man as well. So I got to meet his kids and family. So that was cool. Hanging out with him at a demo day in Whitehall, Michigan. But
that's cool.
But yeah, I just think we're trying to squeeze anything we can right now, and
And that Shoalie too, I'll have to admit, I mean, you guys nailed it. I don't know. I think I'm pretty sure yours came out first, or was it the RVR? Which one?
The Shoalie was out.
RVR.
Shoalie was out first.
Y'all hit it. I mean, everybody's right around that 17. The Jackson's a little higher. I think it's like 18 or whatever. But everybody's right around that $1,700 for that. But to me, that's a lot of boat. For all the options that they have. Right. For that price range.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, so, the Shoalie, we're at $1,599, I believe. So it's not
$1,599. That's right. Yeah, it's 16 to 18 between the 3 of them, I think.
Right. Not bad at all. Not bad. And it's American made quality product. Using the toughest plastic you can make. Based on all the tests for all the road molding plastic, we have literally the toughest one possible to help it hold up in the river. So. The other boats are awesome. Those other river boats, they're great companies, great folks that run those as well. So if you're in for, looking for river kayak, then check them out. The only thing I just stress to people is, get into your kayaks at a demo day, check them out, but also remember that, you're using these boats in moving water. So if you can try it in moving water, that's the best. And then think about the loading, unloading, and getting to these access points that rivers often have, which aren't always the easiest. So consider the weight of the boats for sure. Because if you get a heavy boat, you end up getting a bigger, heavier boat than you need. The problem, and what I've seen, is that all the bigger boats I've ever owned, I'm never like super inspired to get home and load them up and get on the water, or put them on my truck going to work just for a couple hours after work, because I'm thinking, man, I'm gonna have to get that thing off and get it down that hill all the way and get it back up, and that's just heavy. And I end up just not. I'm like, I'll just wait till I have a whole day to fish or something, And anyway, that's one thing I'd consider. Just make sure you get one that is super maneuverable, and again helps you avoid those obstacles so you don't flip over. And and they'll all feel the least stable they'll ever feel is at that demo day when you first get in one. The same way, again, when you're riding a bike with training wheels, the first time you get on that bike is the least stable it'll feel. And then after a few times, you learn after a couple months, your training wheels are off and you're jumping curves and you're going crazy on that bike. And it's almost like you can hardly even remember that it felt unstable. And that's the way. So that's why I always encourage people. You almost want to feel, I know it sounds crazy, but at a demo day, you almost want to feel a little unsure about, man, is this going to be stable enough? I'm not quite sure. And if you have that feeling, you're probably in the right boat, because if you feel so stable in it, it's probably a boat that's a little bit longer, a little bit wider. So it's going to be wider, longer, heavier. And it's all the things that are wrong for a riverboat, quite frankly. So keep that in mind. Because again, demo day is short, and it might seem, hey, this paddle's pretty good, which is kind of what we pride ourselves at Crescent. James Durbecker, the owner, is a paddler, hardcore. And so we want to make sure our boats are still paddling fast and effortlessly. And because when you're out there all day, that's going to matter. At a demo day, a couple 100-yard little circle, you're never going to feel that, but we make sure you can still paddle them and they're still quick, because that matters in moving water too, to be quick.
I know a good question.
Sure.
Since you was doing the Bassmaster in one and you had motor on it, did you use a motor while you was there? What one did you use, and how fast did you get that Shoalie going?
So last year I didn't use a motor. I don't believe I used a motor at all. I was actually with Motor Guide, sponsored by them, and I'd been with them for about 6 years.
XI3.
I had the XI5. I still have one for sale if
XI5.
anyone needs one. It's a used 105-pound thrust, 36 volts. So anybody wants one,
Oh my Lord.
give you a good deal.
Yeah.
I always had the highest thrust possible with Motor Guide, and
Yeah.
same thing with Torqeedo. Now I'm with Torqeedo 1103, and just for those rivers and creeks, I really feel like the stern motors are a little bit better because you can see, the things you go over and quickly avoid it with where the motor's going to hit it. Whereas the bow, when you hit something in a river or anywhere, I mean, there's no give. You don't know. The motor's the first thing on, the boat. So you just hit it. And you just, fall down or whatever. And there's no spring mechanism or anything. And you could break the inserts off the front of your boat. So the Torqeedo is a little bit better for that. And you can, fish upstream and kind of use your feet to kind of steer, and it's kind of nice, just hands-free, just sort of fishing. But that's what I got now, the Torqeedo 1103. It's awesome. And I've been using it this year on the Bassmaster Kayak series. And I've had some good finishes. I was 15th at Gunnersville out of 250. So
that's great.
Decent finish at the championship too. Unfortunately I only had 4 fish on second day. So again, more proof that, we talked about all those good finishes, but the bad ones have happened too. And if I would have gotten just any 5th fish, I would have been in the top 10 and on the stage for the championship. But Russ Snyder's, who won, he and I were sharing water, and we were definitely in the right spot. But I lost a couple of big fish at the end of the day, and that is how it goes with fishing, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why it's called fishing, right?
Yeah.
I tell everybody.
And that's what
they might be there one day and they're not there the next day.
Yep.
That's it.
That's why you love it, man. I mean, if you just catch them every time, if they were so predictable and they stayed there and it just all worked out like you thought, you would not be intrigued. You'd kind of be, the mystery's gone. It's kind of like the girl you met in college that you just lost the interest for her because the mystery was gone, and you were young, and
the mystery was gone.
You kind of wanted that mystery, I guess, and a little bit younger more than you may want that consistency now. But when you get older,
that's right.
The mystery for sure is important. So
yeah, I noticed Mr. Tatum there said that the NK 180 on his Shoalie gets him about 4.2, 4.3 miles per hour. So yeah, I would say in that 1103 you got it probably cooked that thing pretty quick.
It goes 6.2, sometimes 6.4.
I was going to say 6.2. I figured.
I've been
about 6.
up to like 8 something going downstream. But it moves, man. I don't know what the NK 180 is compared to the 1103. I don't really know, but I just know that in my weight, in my size, and my weight, I get 6.2. solid. Every once in a while it kicks up to 6.4, and every once in a while it dip into 6, but usually it's right at 6.2.
Wow, that's pretty quick on a kayak.
Oh yeah, that's quick. I mean, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Especially a smaller. I mean, I'd say smaller, but it's not that small again. But it's compared to the other kayaks today, which are really just miniature boats. It's small, but it's
because it's what? It's 34 inches wide, 11.8.
34 inches wide, and 11'10".
11'9",
or 11'8", 11'10". I forget.
I know it's somewhere around there. I looked the other night just to make sure, but I thought it was somewhere right around in there. So that's a nice size kayak. I mean, at one time that would have been a norm at 34 inches. That would have been big. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing.
That's right. It was.
A little bit more about you. What's your favorite way to fish? I mean, are you a finesse guy? Are you a power guy? What's your favorite? Are you a little bit of both? Whatever it takes.
Definitely not a little bit of both. I'm only power fishing pretty much. I rarely even bring a spinning rod out there.
Really?
Maybe to a fault, but I just continue to look back at the results I have and I say, what fault? I mean, you know what I mean? Like I mean, there's certainly some times where maybe, and that's where on the Shoalie, I was talking to some guys at this demo day this past weekend about, there's one time I do remember, I wish I would have had a spinning rod in my, the Shoalie has a rod locker in the front hatch, and I wish I would have carried an extra spinning rod in there, a couple extra rods, because I ran into some fish that needed a spinning rod presentation. Now, in my defense, earlier in that tournament, before I moved locations with my truck, I reloaded in the back of my Tacoma. Yeah. I broke my spinning rod. I had a spinning rod and reel with me. I had one, but I broke the tip off. So I actually didn't have it anymore. When I relaunched at the next spot, I didn't even put it on the kayak since I'd broken it on accident. Broke the 12 inches off the tip. So anyway, but I pretty much try to stick to the power fishing, and that's because I try to keep it simple with where I go and what I do, and it may mean that in certain lakes and situations and tournaments that only 10% of the water is my style, but that's where I'm going to be, and that means, and so it keeps me from having to not learn. Because here's the thing, man, I've got like 2 kids and a wife and 3 dogs and just a lot going on, working with Crescent, doing other projects. Who in the world can learn all these new techniques, for bass fishing? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
There's so many out there, unless you're a professional on the Bassmaster Elite Series or you're
where you're doing it every day. Yeah.
You can't. And I know they're trying, it also part of it's trying to help, sell baits, and, need to know this and need to know that. But,
right.
But there's no way any of us out there who aren't doing it full time can actually learn all those techniques. And then more importantly, fish them enough to know the why and when, like you need to fish them on actual day on the lake, right? It's kind of like, it's so much. And so I just eliminate all that mess and clutter, man. And I just say, I'm going to power fish in the places that I know I can find fish that'll eat in that way in my backwaters and rivers and creeks. And I just sort of force that bite until I find the fish in the lake that'll eat that way. And those are the fish I'm going to go fish in the tournament. There may be more fish in other places, and there might be other ways to catch more and bigger. I don't know, but other people, might cannibalize those fish. If 2 or 3 people find a school of fish on the main lake and they're all on it for 2 days, hopefully they'll eat at each other's fish a little bit, and it'll make the area of mine that wasn't quite as good, but maybe it makes it a winning spot based on, other things that happen. So I just try to stick to power fishing, chatterbaits, buzz baits, spinner baits, things like that, that move fast,
Now, you're a man after my own
swim
heart.
baits.
That's me. I'm still trying to get used to the swim bait deal. I do a little bit of it, but I'd love to throw a DT6 or, I'm a crankbait guy. I got the 2 to 5s. I got the 6 to 7, I love the crankbait fish, what I'm saying? But I do a little bit of, I do pretty well with wacky rig, but it's got to be the right conditions and the right layout of the surface underneath.
Right.
You know what I mean? So ledge fishing, because where we're at here in western part of North Carolina, you got the rocks. It's kind of like it is in Tennessee. And at some points of the year, you can usually catch one on a, some type of, crankbait, but the wacky rig seems to work better. So, I've had to learn how to use it.
Oh yeah. It's hard not to put that in the arsenal, although I still haven't, but I still don't really throw wacky rig. But when I stop catching them on what I'm using, then I guess I'll switch. In my mind, it's like you just need to have baits in your tackle box that cover the water columns, right, and that cover the speeds. And if you know how to catch fish in those baits, and you've caught them on them before, then you're going to catch fish on them again more often than not.
That's
the fish. I mean, it's just I don't know, man. We just need to get think about all the bait companies out there. Like, not many bait companies out there are making a bait. I mean, hardly, I would say almost zero, that a bass, they're so good these days, right? Everything's more realistic, more lifelike. If you can get it in front of a bass, right? So that's why I said you need to learn techniques that will get you to fish every part of the water column, and then also different speeds in those parts of the water column. Mm-hmm. So if you can do that, and you just have 1 or 2 baits that can hit that water column and the speed you need to hit it, I'm pretty sure the fish are going to eat it. You know what I mean? I mean, the only exception would be if you are on main lakes that are so pressured and such clear water that maybe then they've learned you got to just mix it up with some different technique, but I don't know.
Yeah. And that's what it is in western part of North Carolina where we live is it's, they're clear lakes. I mean, you can jump in the water and open your eyes at 20 feet deep. You know what I'm saying? So, I have to have wind here to run the crankbait.
That's
you know
right.
what I mean? Other than that, you're trying to finesse, you know what I mean, on the side. So,
yeah.
And that's why I like to travel to go to these tournaments and fish, because I get to fish the way I want
to. That's right. I try to avoid the only thing I do try to avoid, which is different than you, is I try again, because you're fishing the lakes more, sounds like, but I'm fishing these backwaters, rivers, and creeks that are very much a jungle sometimes. I have got a lot of structure, a lot of just junk.
Yeah.
And I try to stick to single hook baits as much as possible. You know, I'm sitting here holding up a Z-Man spinner bait, single hook,
Gotcha.
chatterbait, you know, big single hook bait. So that's what I
Gotcha.
try to stick with. The only exception is, you know, a topwater, you know, plopper style bait, a
Yep.
Chopos.
Whopper plopper.
That's kind of hard not to throw sometimes, but buzz baits, you know, work really well too. But yeah, I just try to fish those single hook baits that get hung up a little bit less, you know, when you're skipping, you're
Yep.
throwing them like way underneath stuff. And once you hook them and you're using 30-pound braid and a medium heavy action rod, like it's pretty much what I use, you know, with 13 rods and Sunline SX1 braid. Hey, when I get them hooked and in a tournament scenario, like they're coming in the boat. I don't even bring a net, man. I still have not even brought a net to these tournaments. I'm just boat flipping them or grabbing them with my hand because I've done it all my life. I'm just so used to it. And so I just feel like I probably would lose just as many with the net as I, you know, reach around trying to fumble with it and get it and trying to get them in the net and doing all this. Like you know, so
you run straight braid in the rivers, or you
straight,
use a fluorocarbon leader?
straight braid.
Okay.
Everything all the time.
How about the lake tournaments? You lake tournaments straight braid
Straight
too?
braid, everything all the time, except
wow.
for Grand Lake. I had fluorocarbon on, but I didn't need it. I just was messing around with the Sunline fluoro, and man, it feels like a dang rubber band when I'm after fishing with braid, because you're in a kayak, man. It moves with you, and you know, again, I'm not gonna. Again, you got to think about what I said earlier. I'm not talking about go to Lake Hartwell in the main lake or Lanier or and try throwing straight braid. I'm talking about my lake areas will be vegetation rich. They'll be structure rich. They'll be windy. It'd be super windy, like you're saying, on a riprap or somewhere where you can get away with. And I'm throwing all moving baits. So the moving baits, like your spinner baits and your chatter baits, you just don't have to have that. So don't miss what I'm saying here. I'm not saying I'm going out there throwing, you know, a drop shot on all braid or Carolina rigging or whatever.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
I think we knew that.
So anyway, but yeah, I just try to find those areas and those lakes that are going to have the stained water. If I'm going to be on Lake Hartwell, which I never really am, I've only fished it one time when I filmed with Bass University, which, by the way, I think my seminar with Bass University comes out this Friday that we filmed on Hartwell. But anyway, I will find the back of a creek, stained water, up the river. That's where I would go. If I'm in a Clearwater Lake, if I'm in the Lake Lanier, I'd be up the Chattahoochee or the Chestatee. I'd find somewhere that just has some moving water or some stained water or vegetation or somewhere, flooded bushes where my lures and style will work. That's why I'm saying earlier about each lake. Some lakes I might only have 10% of the water to be able to even fish my style, but I consider that a good thing because I'm not stuck with trying to figure out, like everybody else is, where in the world am I going to go on this lake is gigantic and it's like hard to figure it out. I've already eliminated most of the whole lake. And I know that 10% of a lake that's, 50,000 acres, right, is still going to have enough acreage and enough water to have 5 winning fish that'll feed with the baits I like to throw and the style I like to fish. So that's how I just kind of quickly eliminate stuff. And I guess until it stops working, I'm just going to keep doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's right. That's right. Dude, what drew you to the river fishing? At what point in time is that where you said, "Man, this is my thing"?
Probably it's just from childhood, honestly. We just would romp around.
Did you grow up on the river?
We had a creek in our backyard, and it was big enough creek to catch little sunfish and creek chubs and little catfish. And then the river was close by. This river called Yellow River in Snellville, Georgia, over there where I grew up on the east side of Atlanta.
Okay.
And I was in Murfreesboro for a little while when I was 6, 7 years old, and we used to wade the Stones River in Tennessee. Right there, it goes through Murfreesboro. So I've kind of always just been into rivers and creeks because my dad, my parents. That's kind of what we fished. And when we fished lakes too, don't get me wrong, we had a little John boat we fixed up and fished a smaller horsepower restriction and electric only lakes. But the rivers and creeks, when I just got older, I mean, it was just, I don't know, something drawn to how wild it is, how different it is every time, how challenging it is, and how much, it just changes. It's just exciting. The fish fight harder. I mean, who doesn't love that? That you're in current, they're a little stronger fish, the largemouth, which are kind of known for being kind of a lazy fish. Like, they're not that lazy in a river. They're tough and they are hard fighting. So muscular fish. But I mean, what's not to love, right? I mean, You
That's exactly right.
get to see
I'm telling you.
all
Yeah.
kinds of wildlife.
That's
And
what hooked me. My brother-in-law tried for 5 years. He said, "Man, you got to go to the Holston with us. You got to go." And I was like, "I'm not going." He said, "I'm telling you, you got to go." I went one time. We did. I think we did a 9-hour float that day, and I was hooked. That's it. I said, "When we coming back?" I mean, we caught. I mean, between the two of us, we caught like 60, 70 fish. I mean, and caught some nice ones, but caught some that were hand size, but they was all smallies. I mean, it was just
it's a good river.
unbelievable. I
Yeah.
mean,
That's a
yeah,
fun one for
yeah.
sure. So,
It is. It is.
yeah.
Yep. Well, I usually ask all the guests, since we're in kayak fishing, I always usually have a really good story. What's the craziest kayak fishing story that you got? Like a
Yeah.
mishap or
Hmm.
something went crazy, or you're like, I didn't see that coming. You know what I'm
Dude,
saying?
there's so many. Like, it's like tough to decide. Obviously, there's so many. I mean, I think probably if I had to really say the craziest one I've ever been a part of is when I took the Animal Planet, network. I was able to be a part of one of their episodes. It's called Off the Hook Extreme Catches, and it was a
Okay.
show
Yep.
maybe, I don't know, 7 years ago. And we went out to the Devil's River in Texas, and if you can just imagine this whole crew, there's like 5 or 6 production folks. There's some of my friends were there paddling tandem kayaks for the camera guys. It was just a crazy, crazy situation already. And the producer that was a younger, producer, and she was, asking me questions like, "Hey, can you have the host like catch a fish? And then as he's catching it, can he just get swept down some rapids? And it just looks all chaotic." I'm like, you can't just make that happen. Like, if it happens, cool, but and it does on the rivers. And she was like, said like, "Hey, I don't want anyone to get hurt. We hope everyone is safe and we are, okay. But if something were to happen and somebody were to get hurt, we want to make sure we get that on camera. So make sure, like, let's, we don't want it to
Oh
happen.
yeah.
Yeah. So let's make sure we get it. Don't, so, and of course it happened. I go through this little short, little tight bamboo kind of lined,
Uh-huh.
not bamboo, there's reed, whatever they are, river cane line, little
Yeah, I
shoots on
know.
the
Yeah.
Devils. And my rod, somehow a rod bent back on the river cane, and I had the bait, I think it was a Zara spook or something like that, on my reel. It was right by my ankle, and when it ripped it
Oh.
back, it actually put the hook into my foot or ankle or hand.
Oh.
I don't know where it was, in my leg. So on the episode, I mean, I'm in pain. I have it all on my GoPro, and then I have to wait for them to all come down that chute. There's a whole convoy of us, so I have to like wait, keeping this thing in my leg and just sitting there in pain. I mean, what I'm gonna do? I'm not gonna rip it out anyway myself, but I have to wait for them to like wave them on over. Like, all right, guys, you're gonna want to film this. You're gonna have to, blah blah blah. I got this hook in my leg, and it was super painful. But then the host, we teach him the trick, right, with the line, the fishing line. We like here, and he's a wrestler, former professional wrestler. So you think he's strong enough to like rip this thing out, especially with putting the pressure on it the way you're supposed to do it with the braided line. And they're filming it. We have to get everything all ready, lighting. You sit here, you're here. Let's get it set up right. And they're like, I just want this thing out of my leg already, So he pulls it, and of course he doesn't go hard at all, and it just stretches all my skin. He's like, they're trying to like pull it out. And so we had to do a few different takes, but eventually one of the friends of mine, I think it was Pat, one of the guys that was paddling the kayak for the camera guy, it was a close up of his hand, and we pulled it out, so it looked like it was the host of the show, but really it was not him. But we made it seem like it was, right. This is Hollywood, right? Faking. So he pulls out of my leg, and then the crazy part comes when the Devil's River's in the middle of the desert, so it never rains. Of course, you go and plan a shoot a year in advance or whatever, 9 months in advance on this exact day, and then it just thunderstorms like you've never seen. The desert is known for these flash floods and this craziness.
Yeah, right.
And we were camping overnight, and so we couldn't risk camping on these islands because we thought it was going to come up real fast and flood us out. And so we had to try to get off the river, and there was people that the place we had to get off where it was, we kind of knew who owned this house, but we couldn't get in touch with them. There's no signal. So next thing you know, we had to like basically break into the house to stay there overnight. And it's creepy. There's all these dead animals on the wall, and creepy mannequins were there. It was just the weirdest place.
Oh my goodness.
And we're in there, and then there's the neighbors are taking pictures, and now we're like, they're seeing our camera gear and everything. And it was like, we're going to get busted. We're going to get whatever, like the police are going to go on us. Because they're taking pictures that we had to get out on the private property to get to this guy's house. Cause they're very, very picky about if you trespass at all, we're going to come after you, and don't trespass on our private land over here. And so we weren't trying, we're trying to stay alive. You know what I mean? We weren't, so it was real. Everyone's crammed just on the floor, wherever we could find. And it was just crazy, man. Crazy. Eventually we somehow made it out, and I can't even remember all the insanity. So anyway, Doug's comment. That wasn't the crazy part. We still caught some fish and had a good time. You guys can go check it out. But,
yeah, I'll have to check that out. I didn't know you'd done that one. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
though.
That was a wild one.
Yeah. But that's the best story yet I've had on here. That's crazy there. That's awesome. That's crazy. Any outside special charities that you do? Anything that you're passionate about besides the fishing that you take part in? Anything like that you're it's on your heart of some sort that you support or?
Yeah, there's a lot of things I want to obviously do more of, but what I want to do is work on something next year, for example, that really gets into working with folks, young kids, and like Alex Rudd. If you guys know Alex Rudd, keep him in your prayers. His dad just passed away from cancer. Okay. And
he was just on here a few weeks ago. Alex was.
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I know you mentioned that he was. So, what I want to get into more is getting into something like that in the future. Because when I had our daughter, Sophia, she was in the NICU, and that really hit home to me when I saw all these little babies in there, and it brings out that kind of more sensitive side to, any grown man, you see these little babies in there. Some of them come from different backgrounds, and there's a reason why they were there and had to get born early or whatever. And some of them had the families that were there with them, and some did not. And man, and when I got talking to Alex, and there's something we kind of have working on, and can't mention all the things I do, so I want to mention this, kind of start prepping people for it. But doing something for pediatric cancer, like he does for kids, because when you see somebody, and once you have kids, and you realize man, it's incredible that we as a species have just made it, because you cannot. Kids just can't make it. Not just make it. They can't make it for a long time. Babies and kids without, their parents, and good parents that are sitting there taking care of them. So
that's right.
Man, when I saw those kids in the NICU, it just kind of tugged at my heart. And then I kind of saw what he was doing with pediatric cancer. We've got a plan to kind of do something next year, because, man, it just, I don't know. It just tugs at my heart for sure. And it's just tough as the kayaking industry.
That was really sad when I seen that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it was sad when I seen that post this week, but from Alex, I was like,
for sure,
it was just, and it was tough. That's, cancer's nobody's friend. You know what I'm saying? And,
no,
dude. You just hate it. For anybody. We lost my father-in-law, which was my best friend. Mm-hmm. It's been now 20. I think this year will be 25 years, and it just, by the time they found it, it was too late, and. I just watched him whittle away in just a few months, Mm-hmm. So it's anybody that's ever been through it or seen it up close and personal, you got a whole different outlook about it after that. You know what I mean?
Oh,
it's
100%.
Just it's hard not to get soft on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially that, and especially with kids, and the kids that it happens to them, and then the families that don't have the money to, and they have to quit their jobs to take full-time care, but then they lose that income. And so we're going to try to do some stuff. And my wife actually just had
that's awesome.
One side of her thyroid taken out, and there was a nodule there, and they didn't expect it to be cancerous. It had a 2 to 5% chance, and it was cancerous. And now they supposedly it's all gone, but she's doing follow-ups every 6 months, hoping that, it never shows up anywhere else. And she's, 32. So I really want to do more for that. The only other thing,
Mm-hmm.
definitely, like to mention my faith. That means a lot to me when others share their faith. And, I know folks out there, there's a lot of things to kind of believe in, and my Christian faith and belief in Jesus have kept me, grounded all throughout life. And it means a lot. I know actually, Robert Randolph's on here, and I need to get back on their podcast. I know, Robert, if you're still on there, someone messaged me somewhere back in some DM. I can't remember where, but I know you guys wanted to have me on again, the Faith and Fishing podcast. But man, that's just critical. So if you're out there and you're struggling, because we all like to get on social media and post the best parts of our lives and all this stuff. But if I spun this camera around right now, you'd see what a mess my whole basement like is, and how just cluttered and just what a mess sometimes our lives are. Because really we all, are a mess in reality. And
That's
we
right.
need a savior. And if I didn't have that to kind of ground me, and again, it might be different for other people, but I just encourage you to seek, because I feel like if you seek, you'll find. So just search that out. And just know that as cool as all these trophies look and all this stuff, it's temporary. And, my life is as crazy and chaotic as everybody's out there. It really is. So I don't want anyone ever to think that, oh, look at that guy, perfect family, 2 kids, dogs, picket fence, all that stuff. Cause it's not, we struggle with everything, marriage is always, work in progress, and it's challenging,
Yeah. Amen, brother.
Kids. Yeah, it is. I mean,
that's exactly right.
So I just encourage you guys on that to seek, and you'll find for sure.
Man, I appreciate that. I appreciate you sharing your faith. Like I said, I'm a strong man of faith too, and it's it's what gets me through. I mean, I don't know really how people get through it without it. You know what I'm saying? And he definitely makes a change in our lives. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
And he's good to be there when we need him. And he's always there. So that's what's a great thing. So,
absolutely, absolutely.
And we get wrapped up in all this other stuff. It's hard not to, in this flesh and in this world, and the passions that we have. But like you said, it's all going to pass away one of these days. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So, and I loved it when I seen in your Facebook, all the stuff that you're doing with your kids and how you kind of trying to make time for that or whatever. And and that's really what matters. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I'm trying, man. Trying the best I can.
That's all you can do. That's all we're all doing. That's what I tell everybody all the time is I'm not perfect at all. I'm just trying to do the best I can by His grace. That's all.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
That's it.
It's a tough balance.
I just like to fish. So that's the bad thing. I like to fish.
That's right. It's super tough balance, man. When you try to balance life with work and kids and family, it's so hard, because I feel like sometimes I'm a failure because I'll look and I'll see somebody else out there just fishing more, posting more, making more videos, doing more stuff. And then I realize, I was doing the same as them when I was, in my 20s, and I got married when I was 35 or 36 even. I think I met my wife when I was 35. So during those years of my life when I was, young and single, I was doing that much stuff, and and they should be, taking advantage of that time, because you're not going to have as much, later potentially. So take advantage. But I'll look at it and I'll feel like, man, I'm just kind of defeated. Like I'm not doing as good of a job for, whoever my sponsors or whoever, Crescent or whoever. But then at the same time, I guess I realize that it has to be balanced, and that means so much to be able to take care of those kids and to get their futures, going as well. So, and being a good example for them, that means so much, and you got to sacrifice. So it's tough.
That's right. That's right. And what was the other podcast you just mentioned?
Faith and Fishing, I believe. He may be off because I don't see him commenting, but I think it's called Faith Fishing Podcast.
I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah,
I've never heard of that one, so that'll be good. And I got a lot of travel time. Like I said, I drive a lot, and I listen to a lot of podcasts, so that'll definitely go on my list. So
yeah.
Anybody that you want to give a shout out to? You mentioned your sponsors there. Is there anybody you want to thank, on the podcast, or, anybody that, you need to say anything to about or anything? I know, sometimes people want to do that, What about family figures? Was there somebody in general who really got you into the fishing and was there somebody special in your life that did that you can remember?
Oh yeah. It was just, again, it kind of leads into the thanks here, because it's basically my parents and my grandparents. They're from East Texas, my parents. So one set of grandparents retired on Toledo Bend Lake, and then the other was right there at the Sabine River, which is obviously,
oh wow,
not the biggest fish in the world, but there's a lot of numbers of fish, and it's a popular fishery that a lot of folks there love to bass fish. So I fished there in the bayou and on the lake just as a kid when I visited them, and of course my mom and my dad both fish, and so they picked up the bug and then passed it along to me, and I guess the rest is history. It certainly wasn't something I was considering full time until I was, in my 30s in life. But just blessed. I mean, I went to school, obviously, and got degrees and did the whole normal stuff. And but fortunate to be doing this now. But I couldn't do it without the family, without my parents. So I got to thank them for that, and thank my wife for doing what she does around here, and to be able to let me still do this, because it's not the most lucrative industry you can work in, that's for sure. But we have a good time. It's a family. Paddle sports and fishing is very much a family industry. So, you kind of get to know everybody. So yeah, I got to thank everybody in the industry and my family for getting me into the sport. And, as far as sponsors, you guys, there's too many to mention, but I just wanted to say,
I got you.
Thank you to all of the sponsors out there. And if you guys, follow me at Drew Gregory Fishing on all platforms, YouTube, Facebook, all that, Instagram, it's just Drew Gregory Fishing. And I post about my sponsors and tag their products. So you guys can see that. But I'll say this about them. There's not one sponsor. I mean, I would never have anybody on board that wasn't a product I was already using beforehand, or a quality product that I know is helping me and giving me, the best possible advantage out there on the water to catch the most fish, the biggest fish. Because when it comes to tournaments, which is kind of one of the things I do, that's for sure something that you got to have the best stuff. So
yeah. So somebody just put on there, Drew had a fish tank in his bedroom with a baby bass in it.
That's right. So my buddy Jason Bradford, I grew up with him in Georgia, there in Snellville. So we used to fish the rivers and creeks there, and we had a ton of fun. Just it's crazy when you go back and you think about it. We're just having fun, and that's really what this is all about. If I can keep it that way, I'll be successful. But because that's what
exactly
fishing
right.
is. So anyway, but he and I had so many crazy trips and memories fishing, all the local lakes and rivers, and so it's pretty wild to see that kind of somehow carved out some sort of living doing this. But I miss those times with Jason and the boys for sure.
Oh, sadly to say, at some point in time, you got to make money,
grow up,
right?
yeah, exactly. So I don't get to fish as much as I did. It's funny, I do it for a living now, but I don't get to fish as much as I used to when I was with Jason back in the day.
What's left on the schedule for you this year, tournament wise? What do you got lined up?
Heading out to Possum Kingdom Lake in Texas for the Bassmaster Kayak Series. Again, trying to at least fish enough of those events to try to maybe compete for the AOY again and defend that title. So yeah, I'm out Possum Kingdom, and then I'll be at La Crosse for Bassmaster. I'll be at the Susquehanna for Bassmaster. There's a chance I might cherry pick a Hobie event, or we'll see, and get into one of those. It's kind of close by if it works out with the schedule. I just have a lot of stuff going on with the kids and the family, so the schedules this year didn't quite line up as perfectly as I wanted to be able to get into fishing as many. But yeah, so that's kind of the plan. I'm trying to think what else I'm going to fish. That's probably it. I might be at, if there's a champion, I don't know. We'll see. We'll just see where the year takes us. I got some other cool stuff I'm working on too that I can't get into, but yeah.
Are you going to be at ICAST?
I'll be at ICAST this year. Yeah, I'll be at ICAST. So I'll see you guys there. Okay. I'll be in for demo day, on the water demo day. Last year I had COVID, so I missed ICAST. So I'm excited because it's been, a couple years since I've been there now. So pumped.
Yeah, I'm going to try to get there for a couple of days. I've never been, but I really like to go. Maybe, get to go to, just check it out first time. Maybe do a few interviews and stuff like that to have on the YouTube channel. So I'd like to go. I always watch it on, everybody else streaming, but I'd like to go one time myself and see it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, you need to be there for sure. It's fun. Thank you, John White, about, he just made a comment. He enjoyed the trip with Creek Fishing Adventures and Bass and Beer. That's John and Josh. Yeah, we had a good time. Yep. That was over on the James River with an outfitter we stayed with called Wesley Hodges. You can look him up. It's an incredible place. You guys need to go there. I'm telling you, he's got glamping tents. And glamping sounds like a word, like it's just camping, but it's just they're super nice tents with actual beds in them. And they're right on the river. No. You guys got to check it out. He's got a lodge you can stay in. And they can give you, if you're not wanting a guided trip, which most of the folks who would stay in those glamping tents probably don't need, as guiding services necessarily. It was one of the coolest places I've ever been. I mean, the James gets overlooked because the New River is world-class as well as the Susquehanna to the north. So it's kind of stuck in between those two. definitely go check that place out. It was so much fun. There's so much fishable water nearby. And, it's not that much to stay in those tents. Your campfire is right there. Your hot water, even it's pretty spoiled when you go there. So check it out. But yeah, thanks, John.
What scale rapids was on there? I haven't seen that video.
Well,
yet.
I mean, there's so many floatable river and creek miles for within an hour of that place that, I mean, obviously you'd need to spend months there to fish them all. But there are not. There's only a couple of areas that have rapids that are like any that you'd have to worry about. And of course you can just avoid those sections of river. So it's really not bad at all. There's nothing. It was all just easy, fun, beautiful. It was just a gorgeous place. And we had bad weather. I mean, post front, cold water. It was that last big cold front that came through the country, if you remember that. And it was, I mean, we still caught good fish and muskie as well. So, fish of 10,000 casts is not accurate when it comes to that watershed. I mean, we were not even targeting them, and we caught 2 or 3 and had 2 or 3 more encounters where they hit our baits and we saw them. So, and that was just in 2 days, basically a day and a half of fishing. That's all it was, a day and a half. So it's an awesome place. So check it out.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I know Josh said he misses Hooked on Wild Waters. Josh, I know, man. Sorry, dude. It was a cool show. It was a lot of fun, but very, very hard to monetize that. Very hard. But we will, maybe something cool will be in the works for the future, though.
I got you.
Thanks, John. Again, he says he's working his way to get a Shoalie. He loves the kayak. He can watch the videos. So I think Moonrock's going to be available. I think that's a standard color for this year. So at least if you get a 2023, you should be able to get Moonrock. So we had to. It was only going to be a temporary color, but the response for that color was so overwhelming that we basically our hand was kind of forced. So.
What's the name of the camo one? I really like it too.
The Moss, I think Moss camo.
Yeah, Moss. Yeah, I really like that one.
That was nice.
Good looking.
Yeah, it is.
Moonrock's nice though. I was looking at it too. So
they're real nice. So. Good deal.
Now, where's Crescent out of? Where are they located?
Carrollton, Georgia. And
okay, so they are in Georgia too.
They are. Yep. So it's kind of nice because that's where I'm from, and I get to see my family and visit folks when I go back to town.
Cool.
And then
I work down there a lot, so one of these times I might like see if I can come in there and maybe do if they'll let me kind of do a visit video kind of deal or whatever.
Oh yeah,
and maybe even do a live podcast there would be cool.
Oh yeah,
you know
sure.
what I'm saying?
They'd be down for it. We're a small company and kind of easy to make things like that happen for sure. Scott Butcher's there; he can give you the whole tour as well, and he's very, very familiar, of course, with his podcast he's done in the past and audio video stuff. So we got you covered.
All right, man. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, buddy.
Moss. Everybody's
I like seeing these comments come in. That's cool.
Yeah, I know. I do too. Yeah, and this has been one of my best turnouts on the chat. So it's been good. So we got the right man on here tonight. So they're chiming in. So.
Oh yeah. Maybe I help. Hopefully help your show grow. I don't like to. I don't think I've ever turned down anyone for a show, man. And I wasn't familiar with your show, so I got, exposed to it. That's really cool, man. You keep it up. And, I know Alex Rudd was on here. So if I hopefully, helping, I'm streaming this on my YouTube and Facebook, obviously.
Yeah.
Hopefully that helps you get a few more followers and,
Yeah, I'm booked up right now till about August. We got John Dalton that's going to be on here from Creek Adventures.
Exactly. That's who I was with on that trip. That's who you need to get in touch with to go paddle Shoalie. You're close enough to him. That's who you need to get in touch with.
So I'm going to see if maybe we can work that out with him when we do that.
Do it.
I actually got to talk at him at the last Bass Nation. Me and him sat down, we talked, man. Great guy.
Oh, yeah.
I really enjoyed him. He's a great guy. Jordan Marshall's going to be on here. Jackson Orr's going to be on here.
Nice.
So everybody's been really good about it. I've been really blessed, and everybody. And like I said, the one last week got shared I think it was 25 or 2,600 times. So on Facebook.
Right.
And it's coming. It's coming along.
Awesome.
I'm enjoying it. Hopefully it'll go somewhere. And I can't thank all you guys enough. I'm getting some swag packs together for my sponsors. So when I get them, I got to list all you guys. I'm going to send them out to you. So if I ask for your address, don't get weird on me. You know what I mean?
George is saying I need to go get me some coffee. Either you can tell I'm basically out now, or he says I need to wake up. So what is it? Do I need to wake up? I feel like I got enough energy. He must say he can tell I'm out.
I'm surprised. We've been on here a while. I'm surprised the wife ain't yelled at you yet. It's been a while. So
Well, she's not feeling good. She's in bed, but she did message me a little while ago to remind me to change the thermostat. Don't forget to let the dogs out,
I
all
guess.
that good stuff. So I got the reminders.
Man, I can't thank you enough. I'll let you get off here. You've sure been a blessing being on here. We're going to keep an eye on you. We wish you the best. I hope that you win the rest of them that you're going to be in this year. And, man, I hope you'll come on again. I hope to get you on here again. And, especially when some of the new stuff come out, or if you know how you finish up this year, I'd love to have you back on. So
sounds like a plan. Thanks so much for having me. And thank you guys in the comments. We'll see you.
Yes.
I'll get back out there and again, be on the water soon. So for a tournament, so I'm excited for that. So follow along. A lot of fun stuff to happen the rest of this year. Got some cool announcements I cannot wait to talk about.
Man, I can't either.
I'll have you back
come
on.
out.
I'll
have you back on.
Have me back on.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Man. All right. Have a good night, man. Thank you.
Good night, guys. See ya. These comments.
That's good. All right. Well, that kind of wraps up the show tonight. Just a couple things to go over. Can't thank you enough, all you. It's been on the show. Those who've been watching, all the comments tonight. Can't thank you enough. Like I said, I'm a nobody, just a novice to the industry, and but I enjoy the fishing. The tournaments. The guys are in it. Look up to a lot of these guys that's been on here, and I just want to learn more. And hopefully, we have the right guests on here that you can learn more about them and get to know them a little bit better. And don't forget, go over to Country Kids Outdoors Adventures on YouTube. Like and subscribe. That'll help the channel. That'll help this. Please, if you're listening to this podcast on Apple or Spotify, I'm on all of them, Samsung, you name it. We're pretty much on all of them, Amazon Music. Please like and subscribe. That'll help us. And, continue to get this show out to everybody else. We continue to get good guests on here and to get some good information and get to learn who these guys are. And we appreciate you. Thank you so much. And when I get to 100 on the subscribe, I got a $50 gift card that I'm going to give away. So go over there and subscribe. Thank you again. Like I always say, you can't harvest them in the house. Get outdoors, have a good time, and always remember, worship the Creator more than created. Thank you so much for being here tonight. God bless.